Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here. Today, we're putting together what I really like to call the Brain Owner's Manual. Now, if you're a focused learner who has ever felt super frustrated by a lack of progress, a totally messy schedule, or that nagging, constant urge to procrastinate, well, I have some fantastic news for you. Success isn't about white-knuckling your way through the day. It's really not about raw, exhausting willpower. It's simply about intentionally designing your mental and physical environment. You see, once you understand the systems running under the hood of your own brain, literally everything changes.
Okay, let's dive into this. What if everything you've been told about needing more self-discipline is just wrong? What if willpower is essentially a myth? The truth, which is heavily backed by neuroscience, is that your environment influences your habits so much more than your willpower ever could. If you struggle with procrastination, it's not a moral failing. It's not your fault. It's really just a system setup issue. And today, we're going to fix that setup together, step by step. To keep things crystal clear and reduce any unnecessary mental strain right out of the gate, here is our manual's roadmap. 1. Redesigning your environment. 2. Optimizing working memory. 3. The magic of interleaving. 4. Eating the frog. And 5. Executive function tools. Let's get right to it. Section 1. Redesigning your environment. The hardware of habit. So our brains are actually wired to respond automatically to the stimuli around us. Specifically, there's a part of the brain called the striatum. It's tucked right inside the basal ganglia, and it forms habits by linking what we see and feel with what we do, completely bypassing any conscious decision-making. Basically, your habits aren't built on motivation. They're built on environmental cues. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how we hack that system. You've got to make good habits incredibly easy and bad habits terribly inconvenient. Think about it. Keeping a water bottle right on your desk or having your workout clothes laid out creates a path of least resistance. Conversely, you want to add friction to the bad habits. If you physically unplug the TV or delete distracting apps from your phone's home screen, you interrupt that automatic striatum response. When the right choices are the easiest choices, you don't even need willpower. You just follow your setup. To take this a step further, we can use a real game changer called habit stacking. This is where you anchor a brand new behavior to an already existing one. Instead of waiting around for a random burst of motivation, you use a simple formula. After I do my current habit, I will do my new habit. For instance, after I sit at my desk, I will take a deep breath. Or after I take off my shoes, I will do 10 squats. Because you already take your shoes off automatically every single day, piggybacking the squats onto that exact action compounds into lasting change without requiring any extra mental effort. Pretty cool, right? That brings us perfectly to Section 2, optimizing your working memory, upgrading your RAM. If your environment is your hardware, well, your working memory is your brain's RAM. And just like a computer, it has strict inherent limits. In psychology, there's a famous concept known as the magical number 7, which kind of just shows how constrained this system really is for all of us. Because our RAM is so limited, we have to carefully manage our cognitive load. There are 3 types we need to know about. The first is intrinsic cognitive load. This is simply the base level difficulty of the task at hand. Solving a simple addition problem, low intrinsic load. Solving complex calculus, high intrinsic load. The key takeaway here is that we literally cannot alter the intrinsic load. The inherent difficulty of the task is what it is. We just have to accept it. The second type is extraneous cognitive load. Now, this is all about how information is presented to you. If a task is poorly designed, super cluttered, or full of distractions, it causes unnecessary mental strain, completely eating up your precious working memory. As a quick meta example, this is exactly why we intentionally keep the visuals in this explainer so clean and structured. We want to eliminate your extraneous cognitive load so you aren't distracted by terrible design. So the crucial point is really this third type, germane cognitive load. While the word load usually sounds like a bad thing, germane load is actually the mental effort constructively used to build associations and create real long-term memories. We actually want to increase this type of productive mental effort. It's the good kind of brain strain that tells you real learning is actually happening. To summarize this whole cognitive load theory into a highly actionable framework, you accept the intrinsic load, you aggressively reduce the extraneous load by clearing out distractions, and you actively try to increase the germane load. You want your brain spending its limited RAM exclusively on the effort of understanding and associating the material. Section 3, the magic of interleaving. Let's look at the software upgrade. Consider this the ultimate software upgrade for your learning process.
We're moving completely beyond traditional, repetitive study methods that actually trick your brain into thinking it's learning when it's really not. Most of us were taught using blocked practice, doing 15 math problems of the exact same type in a row. It feels fluent, it feels super easy, but it literally leads to mind wandering. You settle into this robotic rhythm, which unfortunately leads to incredibly poor long-term retention. Interleaved practice, on the other hand, mixes practice across various distinct skills. It forces your brain to constantly figure out which solution pairs with which problem. Sure, it is way harder in the moment, but it yields vastly superior retention. Now, what's really interesting here is a fascinating concept coined by researcher Robert Bjork, a desirable difficulty. When you're interleaving your practice, it often feels pretty frustrating. You might catch yourself thinking, why am I not getting this instantly? But that frustration, that slowed down learning process is exactly what causes your brain to encode the information permanently. So feeling frustrated during learning actually means you're retaining it better. If you need hard proof, just look at this number. In a study of 7th graders learning math, some kids were assigned standard blocked practice, and others used interleaved practice, mixing slope and graph problems together. When they were given a surprise test a full month later, the students who used interleaving didn't just do a little bit better, they had a staggering 76% advantage in their test scores. That's massive. Interleaving basically provided near immunity against forgetting. Moving to Section 4, Eating the Frog. Time for daily execution. Now this is a classic time management technique designed to absolutely crush procrastination. It's named after a saying often attributed to Mark Twain. If you eat a live toad first thing in the morning, nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day. So here is the execution sequence. Step 1. Identify your frog. This is your biggest, most impactful task, the one you are most likely to put off. Step 2. If you have multiple frogs, you pick the biggest, ugliest one. Step 3. Eat it first thing in the morning. Behavioral scientist Dan Ariely notes that about 2 hours after waking, we hit a window of peak energy and focus. By tackling your frog during this high cognitive capacity window, you build incredible momentum for the rest of your day. However, we have to talk about a very important modification here called the warm-up exception. If you happen to suffer from attention deficits or anxiety, facing a massive frog first thing in the morning might actually cause you to freeze up entirely. If that sounds like you, it is perfectly fine to start with a quick, easy task, a quick win, just to get your brain in gear and build a little momentum before jumping back to that daunting task. You got to work with your brain, not against it. Finally, we reach Section 5, Essential Executive Function Tools. This is your antidote to overwhelm. Let's move to the execution toolkit and see how this builds a total safety net for anyone who struggles with chronic disorganization, lateness, or overwhelming procrastination, what's often called executive dysfunction. These are your daily workarounds to compensate for when your working memory simply isn't cooperating. This highly actionable toolkit comes from psychiatrist Dr. Melissa Welby. First, the 3-minute rule. If a task takes less than 3 minutes, do it immediately. Don't even write it on a list. Second, the top 5 list. Write your 5 absolute must-do tasks on a piece of physical paper and physically fold it to hide the rest so you don't get overwhelmed. Third, automate and routine. Write down your daily habits so you never have to waste your working memory trying to remember them. Fourth, use a unified system. Stick to exactly one calendar. Please don't mix a paper and digital one. And lastly, rewards. Bribe yourself. Dr. Welby literally tackles her most unpleasant tasks by promising herself sushi at the end. Hey, bribes work. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this absolutely beautiful quote from George Eliot. It is never too late to be what you might have been. If you've struggled with getting things done, please remember that it is not a character flaw. You honestly just needed a better manual for your brain. By intentionally integrating even just one of these systems, whether it's habit stacking, aggressively reducing distractions, interleaving your practice, or simply sticking to a top 5 list, you can radically shift your entire productivity trajectory starting today. So, we've covered the science, and we've outlined the systems. Now it's time for immediate physical action. I want you to look at your schedule right now and ask yourself, what is the very first frog you are going to eat tomorrow morning? Identify it, set up your environment tonight to make it completely effortless, and get ready to execute. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and happy frog eating.